For centuries, the idea of evil energies and beings has been present in all civilizations of humanity. Some call it the being of darkness. Others consider it an invisible presence that produces chaos. In the case of the Catholic religion, we find it in the figure of the devil, and much has been said about it, perhaps too much. In one way or another, we all fear these demonic presences led by Satan or the devil. But what if they were not just ideas? What if they were real and closer than we can imagine? Maybe these theories are inexplicable and anecdotal facts, but if you keep watching, today you will discover 5 signs allegedly left by the devil on Earth that will make you rethink everything. Number 5. The Devil's Footprint. In Munich, the churches are of great tourist interest, and a large number of pilgrims flock to them to atone for their wrongdoings. However, out of the great variety of cathedrals that can be found in this place, there is one that has been disturbing both visitors and priests. In fact, its history dates back to the 14th century when the Cathedral of Our Lady was built by Georg von Halsbach. At that time, Europe was going through a great economic crisis, and the cathedral also suffered from it. Therefore, the prestigious architect, who was still consolidating his career, found himself in dire straits when he tried to finance his masterpiece. Where could he get the money? That question, according to the stories, led him to a frightening solution. Sources at the time claimed that von Halsbach received an unusual offer. He was asked to make a cathedral that was a monument to the night and had no windows, leaving the darkness to consume the entire interior. It was a strange request, but financing the construction was more important, so the architect accepted. He signed and sealed the contract and then got down to work. Several years passed, and when it was finally finished, the mysterious sponsor went there to inspect the work. Everything seemed to be in place. There were no windows. Darkness covered everything, but as he reached the main altar, he could see a large window that was lined with multicolored glass. Immediately, the man shouted words in a strange language and left in anger, but not before leaving a memory for posterity. On the floor, without anyone knowing how, one of the tiles had a deep dark mark, like the imprint of a deformed foot. It was left there by that anonymous man, who many came to assure was the devil himself. Number 4. The Devil's Camp. In North Carolina, just off the country road in Chatham County, there is a small piece of land that has a truly mysterious history. It is an almost withered place of land where nothing grows. Nature flourishes in great abundance around it, but the land itself has no trace of life. Another surprising aspect is that in the center of the desolate place, the earth naturally draws an indelible semicircle that no one can undo, despite having tried for decades. The centuries-old folklore of the area has nicknamed it the Devil's Fields, and it is said that every night when the moon reaches its highest point, the devil walks through the area, positions himself in the center of the circle, and then leaves to torture human beings. Dozens of researchers and argonomists have tried to give a rational explanation for this strange phenomenon. They have tried to plant all kinds of food, flowers, and trees, but they have all perished almost automatically. The soil does not seem to offer an explanation either. Scientists such as Rick Hayes have tried to demonstrate that the soil has a high content of sodium and copper, which would prevent the plants from growing, but the results were negative. The soil is sterile, but the highest concentrations of zinc, sodium, and copper and high pH levels can be found only within the circle. Could it be a coincidence? The locals are convinced that it's not. That is why they avoid this place at all costs. They remain convinced that this cursed field is the devil's favorite place. Number 3. A rock in Brooklyn. There are places where the simplest things have great meanings, and Brooklyn is one of them. Since Revolutionary War times, on a road called Martin's Lane, there was a colossal rock that marked a symbol of those days of great battles and libertarian struggles. However, one day the community decided to move the rock to the Basilica of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, 25 blocks away, but upon moving it, they discovered something disturbing. Underneath the stone, there was a dark, indelible, and inexplicable demonic footprint. The inhabitants gathered around to try to find some meaning, and only the very old men were able to explain to the young people what it was. According to these men, in the past there was a slave named Just, who was on his way home after playing the violin for his master's guests. In the middle of the road, he decided to rest on that rock. The silence was absolute, and Just had the bright idea to play the violin one more time, unaware that the bells were ringing in the distance, signaling midnight. At that time, playing a musical instrument on Saturdays was a sin, but Just didn't care. He continued to play with passion and intensity and with his eyes closed. No one was watching him anyways, at least that's what he thought. When he finished the melody, he opened his eyes and got the shock of his life. Next to him, a strange man in black clothes assured him that he knew his song. It was The Devil's Joy at Sunrise on Saturday, and he assured him that he could play it better. A competition that lasted for 4 hours immediately began. To Just's surprise, as the day wore on, the stranger took the form of a demon, and when he finally managed to defeat him, he discovered that it was the devil himself. The devil accepted his defeat and stomped on the rock where Just had been sitting. He then disappeared, leaving a demonic souvenir for those who would encounter it in the future. Number 2. A Nefarious Oath. Another highly mysterious story featuring the devil and a rock was found in Manchester, specifically in the town of Maine. There, a group of workers was trying to build a new road connecting the city with the rest of the parishes when they came across a huge rock that was stopping the asphalting. The men used the force of their arms, then heavy machinery and cranes, and even went so far as to apply a little dynamite. But the rock would not break, not even move half an inch. Somehow it was completely stuck to the ground, and after days of futile effort, one of the men proclaimed a phrase that changed everything. "I would give my soul to the devil if he would come to move the rock." That sentence came out as an innocent joke, but the next day when they returned, the rock had been moved several feet out of the way. The chief of the workers made an inspection in order to find out who had done it and give him a prize. Several men claimed to be responsible, but they were all lying and the boss knew it. However, the real person responsible never came forward to claim the reward. So how was the rock pushed to the edge of the track? The men approached the rock to try to deduce the method used, but only marks of human fingers and toes were found on the stone. Although it was clear that in both cases there were only 3 toes, something usually associated with the devil. They decided to ask the man who had sworn to give his soul to the devil, but they discovered that he had not shown up for work, nor did he for the next months. The man disappeared forever. Number 1. The Unfulfilled Promise. In Europe, when people are at a loss to explain how some of the most interesting architectural works were achieved, they usually claim it was the work of the devil. However, although this is a very amusing way of explaining the unknown, when talking about the Teufelsbrücke Bridge, something different happens. That bridge crosses the Scholenen Gorge, an ancient and extremely dangerous route that was used as a shortcut to the Gotthard Pass. Its construction begins in 1230 when the first structure was built to cross the abyss. A real gift for shepherds and citizens, but a feat of great sacrifice for the builders. According to the legend, a Swiss goat herd who desperately needed the bridge to be ready in less than a year made a deal with the devil. He begged him to bring such a feat to life, and the devil agreed with the condition of claiming the first soul that crossed the bridge. The goat herd agreed, and to his surprise, by the end of the year, the bridge was completely built. Now the time had come to pay his promise, but instead of sending a person, the clever man sent a goat. The devil flew into a rage and picked up one of the largest rocks in the area, ready to destroy the bridge. But before he could do so, an old woman with a crucifix approached the area. The devil could do nothing but flee from that place. However, he promised to take revenge. Since then, a large number of mysterious deaths have been recorded on that bridge, and it wasn't until 1977 when they managed to remove a huge rock located at the bottom of the abyss, which confirms part of the legend. Of course, these are just some of the most interesting stories related to the devil's visible footprints on Earth. However, there are other mysterious events that have petrified even the greatest priests of the Church. These are inexplicable and demonic events where Satan has intervened to terrorize men. Would you like to know any of these stories? Then check out these videos to go on a journey to the heart of the Vatican and prepare to be amazed.